My name's Brian Fraser, and I'm the minister here at Brentwood Presbyterian Church. We're just beginning, well, we're in the midst of a project in part funded by the Vital Worship Grants at Calvin Institute of Christian Worship, funded by the Lilly Endowment, Inc. And it's looking at Jesus, jazz, and worship. This summer we have been graced with the presence of 4 wonderful young jazz students who have been doing interviews with people involved in jazz worship services. And so this is the first of 4 interviews with those students to find out what they have discovered, give you a sense of who they are and what they've been doing and what they've discovered. So this is Gizelle Rocha.
Hi.
And tell us a little bit about how you got mixed up in this and a bit about your background in jazz.
Now, I teach at the Mozart School of Music as a violin teacher, and I was looking for something to do during the summer and also looking for a little bit of money to make, but also I wanted to get a lot more experiences other than being a musician and a composer. So it was a lot for me to build up my skills, but also discover a lot about myself, especially things I never thought I would do. Mm-hmm. So I stumbled onto Facebook and I checked through the Facebook group, the Jazz in Vancouver group, which is where we can make any post about the jazz community. So I looked through at Ryan's little job application, and I thought I'd give it a try. I loved jazz violin. I just haven't experienced much of it on my own, other than learning about each chart and how they function and how to arrange an structure that could fit the music, both emotionally, both mentally, and it's almost like making a puzzle.
Yeah.
But
a good image.
But other than that, I never have I thought that I would get into research, especially in my skills as a musician, because I've never done much research other than having to do papers for school. But with this experience, it really helped me to learn a lot more how to record, but also try to understand the aspects through both musicians, audiences, and ministers.
Yeah, no, and it was great. And so you did jazz and composition at Douglas College and then at Vancouver Community College.
At first, I was doing violin performance at Douglas, because that's one of the first things I've learned when I was 10 years old, on Kinjidon and so on. So just so I can build up my violin skills.
Right.
But the more I realized that I was more into composition when I was 18 years old and taking some lessons after high school. Unfortunately, didn't have a job. So I was getting disability welfare at that time, and my dad was helping me pay for music lessons. And at first, before I got into music school at Douglas, I was in the career and employment preparation program, where a bunch of students with disabilities, especially mental disabilities, learn how to find a job or look into some employment prospects. And when I got into a job at Bone Rattle Music, that's when I realized I wanted to be a musician or something similar in that position.
Connected with music.
And that's and the more I got connected with composition, the more I felt this may be my path.
Yeah.
And so I went into VCC for composition, learned how to make my own jazz charts, and also write a lot more for ensembles, even small ones, from string quartets to jazz bands, which I am still trying to build up.
Great, that's good. And you've been accepted into the master's program over at the University of Kent in England in composition.
Yes.
Good. So tell us a little bit about the 3 key things that struck you from the interviews that you did this summer on jazz and spirituality and jazz worship services?
Most of it comes with a lot of creativity, the community that makes one person humble and grateful for what they've done to be helped and accepted. And also, I almost forgot the one more thing. It's always about the power of compositions.
Ah, yes, right. So one of the things that, interestingly enough, has emerged for me anyway in this summer is it's not just about the musicians playing, but there's a whole dimension of composition that goes into the excitement, the energy, the flow that takes place, that comes out in jazz worship services, that was highlighted in a way that I hadn't realized before, and Gizelle was a huge part in helping that happen. You interviewed several musicians who don't necessarily have a connection with an ongoing connection with church. And so tell us a little bit about how they see performing in a jazz service at a church.
Most of the interviews I've had, they were either coming from a liberal family or at least a paternal family with Catholic or Presbyterian background. But most of the musicians I've interviewed told me that they come from a musical family or families that had that believe in some Eastern philosophy from Buddhism to shaman, etc. And what I found interestingly is that when it comes to improvisation, there's always a thing called the disciplinary freedom, where you have to know the structure before you can go on and play solo.
Right.
And of course, that's just like in every classical discipline, that you have to know every structure and every note and every technique before you can interpret it yourself in your own way. But in classical music, you have to interpret it the definite exact way,
right,
which unfortunately doesn't have much freedom, but it could be good as a violinist for you to practice those techniques until you're more familiar, and also that you're confident and comfortable enough to play jazz solos which has extended your technique.
Yeah. So I love the idea of the discipline of freedom. And when the four of these students did a wonderful Jazz Evensong here at Brentwood. We do them every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. And so all of our research associates came together last week to form a band. And you guys did a wonderful, wonderful job. I loved your playing. Thank you so much. And I want to say how appreciative I am for everything you've contributed to the project this summer. And we trust that we will keep in touch with you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks so much for this interview.
Awesome. Thank you.